Well, I was just going to write this down, but that's okay. I could just read it off. All right. Does everybody have a Bible?
Yes.
All right. So our first reading of the evening is going to be a very familiar one. So this is Matthew chapter 6, verses 5 through 15. I got someone to get that one?
I got
Okay.
it.
Okay, go ahead.
right. Okay. The next one is also in Matthew. It's chapter 4, verses 12 through 17.
I'll do that one.
Okay.
4, 12 through 17.
I got it. I got plenty.
All right. And the last one in Matthew is Matthew chapter 10,
Okay.
verses 24 to 39.
Okay.
And
Matthew
then
10, 34, 39.
and I've got a lone little guy from Luke chapter 5, verse 16.
I can do it.
Okay. While you're looking that up, let's have the first one, which is Matthew chapter 6.
Okay, and that was 5 through 15, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And whenever you pray, do not be like the hypocrites, for they love to stand and pray in the synagogues and at the street corners, so that they may be seen by others. Truly, I tell you, they have received their reward. But whenever you pray, go into your room and shut the door, and pray to your Father who is in secret, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you. When you are praying, do not heap up empty phrases as the Gentiles do, for they think that they will be heard because of their many words. Do not be like them, for your Father knows what you need before you ask him. Pray then in this way: Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we are also forgiven our debtors. And do not bring us to the time of trial, but rescue us from the evil one. For if you forgive others your trespasses, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. But if you do not forgive others, neither will your Father forgive your trespasses.
All right, perfect. Who had the next one out of Matthew? It was
4, 12 through 17.
that's the one.
Jesus begins his ministry in Galilee. Now, when Jesus heard that John had been arrested, he withdrew to Galilee. He left Nazareth and made his home in Capernaum by the sea in the territory of Zebulun and Naphtali, so that what had been spoken through the prophet Isaiah might be fulfilled. Land of Zebulun, land of Naphtali, on the road by the sea, across the Jordan, Galilee of the Gentiles. The people who sat in darkness have seen a great light. And for those who sat in the region and shadow of death, light has dawned. From that time, Jesus began to proclaim, repent, for the kingdom of heaven has come near.
All right. So we got a little bit of Old Testament scattered in there as well. That's good. Natalie, how about the Luke one?
Which one? Wait,
Chapter 5, verse 16.
16. Oh, okay. This might be abbreviated. This is the Good News Bible. But he would go away to lonely places where he prayed.
Wow. That's a little wow. So I guess that's
You want to say that again, Natalie?
But he would go away to lonely places where he prayed.
okay. And the he would be Jesus. All right. How about Matthew 10, 24 through 39?
24 through 39. A student is not above his teacher, nor a student above his master. It is enough for the student to be like his teacher and the servant to be like his master. If the head of the household has been called Beelzebub, how much more the members of his household? So do not be afraid of them. There is nothing concealed that will not be disclosed, or hidden that will not be made known. For what I tell you in the dark, speak in the daylight. What is whispered in your ear, proclaim from the rooftops. Do not be afraid of those who kill the body, but cannot kill the soul. Rather be afraid of the one who can destroy both soul and body in hell. Are not 2 sparrows sold for a penny? Yet not one of them will fall to the ground apart from the will of your Father. And even the very hairs of your head are all numbered. So don't be afraid. You are worth more than many sparrows. Whoever acknowledges me before men, I will also acknowledge him before my Father in heaven. But whoever disowns me before men, I will disown him before my Father in heaven. Do not suppose that I have come to bring peace to the earth. I did not come to bring peace, but a sword. For I have come to turn a man against his father, a daughter against her mother, a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. A man's enemies will be the members of his own household. Anyone who loves his father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. Anyone who loves his son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. And anyone who does not take his cross and follow me is not worthy of me. Whoever finds his life will lose it, and whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. Here ends the reading.
Thanks be to God. All
I
right.
kind of like a student is not above his master. As a professor, I kind of enjoy that one.
There you go. Yeah, so this episode, my little guide says, this one is the reckoning. So I can only imagine how this is all going to play out. So you ready to
Yeah, and how many seasons are there?
There are 4 total.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we're getting close to the end of season. I think we've only got maybe one more. Is it one more or 2 more episodes? I guess just one more episode.
Did you say season 1 or season 2?
Season 2.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so
is this
we're
like
cruising.
the final episode?
No, there's one more episode.
okay.
So next week will be the closing episode of this season. And then we can rock and roll right into the next one.
Can't hear anyone.
Oh shoot!
Hello.
Oh, now we can.
Yeah.
I was gonna say
It's not moving.
we've multiplied in here.
How do we see them?
You should just have to go back to the teams. Oh, stop sharing. There we go.
Stop sharing.
There you
Okay.
go.
Yep.
Oh,
There you
we
go.
got everybody back. All right. So, wow, Jesus is arrested.
No. Detained for
Detained.
Sorry, it's brewing.
So let's talk a little bit first about Andrew and his desire to obey every word that Jesus says.
Which one now? Which person?
Andrew,
Andrew, right? Okay.
Simon's brother.
I thought Andrew was the one in the boat, though, saying
He
that
was.
they shouldn't,
What's that?
that they need to be ready to fight. Or maybe
Yes.
about something he said
Well,
earlier.
I was going to say you showed up just a little bit late. So, to kind of bring Mark up to speed, they were given instructions. They being the 2 sons of Zebedee,
To go fish
and to go
and
fish.
get food. Yeah.
Yep. And they decided that they were going to
Throw rocks.
throw rocks, and whoever could throw the furthest would be the one, or the shortest would be the one that had to fish. So the two sons of thunder, threw further, and so they were able to get out of fishing. And Simon and Peter were on the boat to fish, and that really upset Andrew because Jesus clearly said all four of us are responsible to fish. So he started to really kind of get into the following the rules type thing. And then he got upset about Mary leaving and, being gone for 2 days. Why didn't she just go to Jesus? And so Andrew's kind of a little bit under the weather at the moment.
And then he's in the boat, and Simon sees the Romans coming, and Andrew's got his back to him. So Simon tries to say, just calm down. And he turns around and sees,
I thought the boat was going to tilt.
yeah, it's ballistic.
Yeah, this one's interesting compared to the last episode because this is a case where the majority of the issue and conflict in this one is extrapolation
Yeah.
of what things were going on and not something that we're seeing directly in the Gospels. But I think it's interesting because we knew the disciples didn't always agree all the time, but I don't think we give much thought to that. That, whenever even in a congregation, whenever you get 12 people together, you rarely have total agreement on everything being discussed.
That's why you vote.
Well, there was a little bit of debate on that towards the end there too, because they were saying, well, we should do this. And they were saying, well, no, we need to decide as a group. It's like, no, what would Jesus want us to do? No, we have to go. He was hinting.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Uncertainty.
It shows that they still don't have complete faith. Because Jesus told them that he would be back.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it seems like Mary is the one that has the faith. She's the one that says he will be back. He said he
Mary?
would be back.
Which Mary?
Not
Mother,
even-
mother of Jesus.
No, the
Mary
Mary
Magdalene.
Oh,
yeah.
I thought it came from mother of Jesus. Okay.
Well, they both were there, but Mary Magdalene was the one who was speaking and was saying, he said he would be back.
Yep.
Mother Mary ended up saying you're acting like boys.
Yes.
She was
Well, no, she didn't say you're acting. She just called them boys.
yeah, boys.
Guys, settle down.
I was confused because I don't remember any story in the Bible similar to this one.
Right. This one is all imagination of what was probably going on amongst all of them as they were trying to figure out what is Jesus really trying to accomplish, because they're still not very clear on that.
Well, not only that, but there is some time lapse that goes on, before Jesus gets onto the Sermon on the Mount. The Bible just kind of skips from major events. So I think one of the interesting things is really kind of seeing the planning that took place. It wasn't so much, Jesus just kind of stood up on,
Appears,
over there off to the side, and everybody else could kind of fill up the hill.
Right.
I mean, it shows that there was, a little bit of thought in terms of the location and, some of the other pieces.
And when he left with the Romans, he said, y'all keep on planning. This is important. I'm going to be talking to thousands of people, but it will be talking to each individual themselves.
Exactly. No, that's perfect.
And I thought it was interesting that they didn't understand that when he went off by himself, that he needed that time and that he was really, in meditation and in his own thoughts.
He's not drawing up war plans.
Yeah.
It's also why pastors and, rostered people need their time alone
A
too.
little bit. We all do. We all do.
Well, yeah, I know we all do, but we often think of that. I don't think people stop and think about, oh yeah, they work on Sundays, so they really do need some time off.
Yeah.
So,
But no, I think that's a great point, because I think whenever you are someone, and it doesn't matter what your role is, but if you are the quote unquote leader, you'll often find that time to yourself is very, very hard to find.
Like a parent.
Like a parent. That's another good analogy. Yes.
Just give it 20, 25 years.
Yeah.
But no, so I mean that time to kind of catch your thoughts and that kind of stuff, especially after the kid does something badly, So what about the Romans?
Oh, I thought it was interesting that Jesus was like telling Quintus like Matthew's he's okay, he's doing all right. And he said, y'all look hungry.
You're dirty and you're skinny. You really not.
Such a threat.
Have you noticed that Quintus is starting to change?
Yeah.
I'd forgotten.
He's not the strict Roman anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd forgotten that he was the one that was kind of Matthew's handler.
Right. Yes.
And
Yeah.
so I thought maybe when they were coming up, this was going to be one of the cases where a centurion comes up and asks for Jesus's help, but everybody thinks it's going to be something dangerous. But no, it's another occurrence.
Yeah. So you can kind of see the change, and I think the interesting thing too is the gentleman named Atticus.
Oh yeah.
Actually does have a little bit of seniority within the Roman world, if you will, and
He's the equivalent of the of your the CIA.
Yeah, I was
Yep.
thinking like
FBI.
agent.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
But with a just like a permanent seal that check this out. That's Caesar seal. I can do whatever I want.
That's right. Yep. But so you can kind of see some of the some of the local authorities as well, not too sure, and I guess the other interesting thing was, what did you think about kind of the reaction of Shmuel when they said, "Oh, don't worry, we got it. We're going to be arresting him tomorrow"?
He didn't like it at all.
No, I mean, it's one of those things. Well, wait a minute.
I have my turn.
Exactly. We want him first. He's violated our rules, not yours.
Well, and I thought it was interesting the way they portrayed it, that those guys were schmuck to the Romans, and yet they held so much authority within the, hierarchy of the Jews themselves. And they had to play real careful, because centurion was ready to draw his sword, and he said, "Do you need to be escorted out?"
All right. Let's keep going.
All right.
Interesting.
Yep.
Okay. Time has come.
I just come for sermon.
I already did it. So I thought it was really good. We kind of put our fingers on the fact that Mother Mary had ended up, talking to the guys about, "You're acting like children." And then, Mary Magdalene said we were told he's coming back. And then Jesus comes back and he goes, you know, you guys need to figure this out. You know, there's going to be hard times, but you're going to have to keep on planning and doing. And it was like, that was his first lesson with them about how when he's gone, what are they supposed to be doing and how they're supposed to organize. And fear was not supposed to be the number one deterrent.
And then he gave him the first prayer.
Mhm.
Mhm. So going back just a little bit and kind of continuing that train of thought from Barbara. So a lot of times we find throughout the Gospels, you know, Jesus is not really talking to them so much and hinting at, you know, the fact there's going to be a time after me, but a lot of times he's hinting that, you know, hey, I'm going to my death and, you know, I'm going to be, you know, resurrected, but he's constantly kind of reminding them. And I think this is another time that we've heard where, not necessarily along those lines yet, which I think is a little bit unusual. I guess as pastor would say, you know, what's not in scripture, what's you know, in scripture that should be there.
What's in there and what makes sense that could be there.
That's right. That's
and
right.
Stuff that's just
Correct.
you
So
know,
so this is, you know, so the way he's kind of hinting, he's not really going as far as what he typically does within the gospel. So in my mind, it's kind of one of those things that, you know, they've taken from the gospel, but they've changed.
or it could be we're still too early in the story.
Yeah, I feel like we're
That's
building up.
possible,
Yeah.
Because he didn't get to the point where he blatantly says, I'm going to be arrested and be crucified until they were closer to
That's
sort
true.
of last
That's
stretch.
true. That's true.
But this could be his first way of saying that, you know, you're thinking that I'm going to be here and do it all for you.
That's right.
And you need to be learning how to be a part of this.
He's making disciples.
Yep.
Yeah.
But and the interesting thing is that to make disciples, you know, in the Bible, it's almost like fingers are snapped and it happens. And so these are possible ways to fill in them working through becoming disciples.
Now, I'm reminded of that part that's at the end of John's gospel where he said, if everything that had happened with Jesus was written, the world couldn't hold all those books, but this is written so that you may believe. So what we've heard every year through the lectionary is the high points, as you were saying, of, you know, what are the key important things. But that's what I like about this. I think it's doing a good job of triggering our imagination to think about, well, for 3 years, what all happened with this group of followers, and what was he teaching them, and how was he teaching them? And as long as it's portrayed in a way that is not opposed to, I think it's good at firing up our imaginations. I think maybe what I'm getting a lot out of this is some of these stories I've heard so many times that when you hear it again, it's like, oh yeah, I know how that went.
That's right.
And you don't get too deep with it. But this kind of makes you think, oh, well, what if this also was happening? Then, yeah, I could really see myself having that same kind of reaction, and makes you identify more with, you know, what was happening.
Yep, that's a good point.
So I think the thing that really caught my attention was the Ethiopian woman and the healed person, you know, going off with Andrew, but we don't know what happens to him in terms of, you know, the
Not yet.
the priests come in and or just right behind him, you know, because they were gonna question her, but somehow, or the both of them, and somehow or another, they happen to be whisked away right before they get to the point where they can somehow or another do their authority and questioning, so.
But it does also show how, like, there's little snippets of references in the Gospels that says the whole region was in discussion about who is this guy? What does this mean? What's going on? Could he be the Messiah? And, just showing how in any small town, stories will spread.
Oh, yeah.
And how quickly the word gets around, and how quickly could probably be, like when the game Telephone, where the story could change and people could get different ideas.
Yes.
And, the Pharisees there are looking for accurate testimony, but they don't have specific accurate testimony yet from what is required in the Jewish law. So they've got to keep looking, and everybody keeps talking.
So I
I
think it
wonder
all
if-
goes back to the fact that they were so busy talking within that particular city, but the Atticus ended up saying, "You really don't want to walk into that city because they're not going to welcome you guys at all." And so they skirted around the city and took him and picked him up on the other side. But
Is there any historical reference to that city? Apparently it was close to Capernaum. Because he said they would go and be back in town for breakfast. So it was and wasn't the Sermon on the Mount close to Capernaum? So there's this city that apparently is full of these religious fanatics,
or Roman haters.
Roman haters, right? And so also,
The name of the city in this
Is
episode?
there?
So the
I don't
answer
remember.
to your question is maybe not within this book, but there definitely is a lot of historical data that does say that that area around Galilee and Nazareth in particular, that's where the bulk of the quote unquote zealots come from.
so it's like a hotbed of rebellion type thing.
Well, I mean, that's
happy.
always true. The places that are most persecuted are where you create your
Rebels.
rebels and craziest martyrs.
Yeah, and those areas were notorious for, I mean, that was the same region and the same group of people that you probably heard about with Masada,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which was, kind of that last holdout against the Roman Empire. Well, that all, those individuals were from this particular area. And so historically, this is kind of that hot spot, like you said, of the rebellion or, which is why when they said Jesus of Nazareth to the Romans, that's more of a cue, like, oh, great, here we go. Here's another zealot or another crazy one who's, going to create some kind of insurrection.
Yeah. They were like, "Okay, Jesus, just stay quiet," and he was like, "I can't promise."
Yeah, when they asked him at the
No
end,
guarantees.
do you know what you're getting yourself into? I
He's
almost
like,
expected he was going to say,
"Mm."
I guess we'll have to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, his whole comment about the father just went straight over.
Yes.
Like, I don't care about your dad.
I thought it was really interesting, though, how they had that Roman portrayed, because typically in a lot of these biblical type of movies, they're very straight
Oh,
laced.
yeah.
And this guy, you could tell, was being lighthearted in an intimidating way.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Of kind of making light of it, making jokes, but it's like, you realize the power position I'm in versus the lack of power position you're in, So I'm just making it, it's almost like you kind of felt he was talking to a mob boss or something. It's like, as long as you don't make problems, you're gonna be okay. But just realize what I could do.
No bones, just
Yeah.
fish, just
Yes.
flesh. No bones, just flesh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a very nice metaphor there, boy.
Yeah.
I thought they'd take the bones out in sushi though. They was talking about the raw fish.
Yeah.
But no, so that's good. And I think one of the, and I hate to say it, every time I see whatever his name is, Gaius, every time I see him,
Atticus,
Atticus.
Atticus.
no, not Atticus, the praetor.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Every
yeah.
time every time I see him,
Atticus,
you know,
yeah.
I hate having the Jesus Christ superstar, but he kind of reminds me of the Herod, just kind of laughing and, do you not know who I am? I could take you out and have you killed. Quintus, that's it. Yeah.
Quintus.
Quintus.
He's pretty full of himself.
Yes.
Well, obviously he used to have to work, but he's retired to getting his salary, hanging out in a different place. The wine and women are good. So he's just trying to look around to see who can entertain him the most.
Well, remember this part of Roman Empire was a backwater. If he was really any good, he wouldn't be there. He'd be somewhere else. So he may have screwed up somewhere, and they sent him. Like we joke about sending people to Bismarck, North Dakota, if the FBI guy screws up. So maybe they said, okay, you screw up, we send you to Palestine.
Yeah,
He seemed to be very concerned about his reputation.
Yeah.
I like the ending there too, where he pulled Matthew aside to help him sort of structure and organize the Sermon on the Mount. Realizing that of all of them, Matthew would be the one that would be interested in doing that and wanting to do that because of his attention to detail and structure. But it reminded me again. I know some people, I'd heard said, well, why are the parables sometimes different in the different gospels? That shows that this couldn't really have been real, because otherwise it would have all been the same. But the way I've always thought about it is, today preachers either have a podcast or a YouTube recorded sermon, or they're earlier on the radio, or they would be quoted in the newspaper. Back then, there was none of that. So Did Jesus come up with a new parable and he told it only once in one city and then he never told it again? No, he traveled from town to town preaching, so he probably told the same parables over and over. And just like any time we recount a story that we're telling, it's the same story, but it's not word for word the same every time you tell it. Because you're in a different place talking to a different group of people. You may have realized that there's a different order in which to present some of the stuff. So to me, that makes it more realistic that what's recorded in the Gospels is slightly different. Because if it was recorded at different
Well, and
times.
I also think, Mark, that Jesus could have definitely done it by himself. But again, it was in the teacher mode that he was giving Matthew, because Matthew was put down all the time. That he was giving Matthew this place to put it down logically so that Matthew could repeat it later on.
Well, I was going to say, because that's, and one of the interesting things is, it's in Matthew's gospel that we have the longest portion of the Sermon on the Mount.
So that was another way to reflect that too in the story.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, no, that's a great point.
Yeah.
So we got a few more minutes left. Any parting thoughts? And I'm sorry, this camera just doesn't. every time because I want to look up at the board where you guys are being
Yeah.
projected.
Me too.
But then I look at the board and it's like I'm looking away from the camera.
Yeah,
So
I'm looking at the laptop this way. The camera's this way.
Good.
That's all right, folks.
I thought the reason Jesus was so calm about going to speak to the Romans was he knew his time was not yet.
Maybe.
Could be, yeah.
He's like, we're not even into it yet. You know, there's more stirring to be had.
More story to unfold.
Yeah. All right.
And I guess should he really get upset, he can just call on the angels and the heavenly host, you know, as Satan told him in the desert. You know, come on, you don't need to starve. Just ask Dad for some bread, and you'll be good. So, Pastor couldn't be here, so please add his family to your prayers. They're all going through some kind of bug, or
They
Oh,
got a bug.
so they all have fevers.
Him too?
I don't, not yet.
Okay.
But he's surrounded by 3 others that do. So Kaylee was sick Sunday, and Lydia and Stacy came
that
down with
probably
it
makes
Monday.
him not willing to. or
I
excited
wondered why we didn't see him in church.
there.
But he's at Via de Cristo this weekend, isn't he?
He's supposed
Yep.
to,
Supposed to, yes, he's supposed to go tomorrow. So hopefully,
but he may be worried about then carrying whatever the family has to folks there, which wouldn't be good for folks there on the weekend. So I don't know how that's going to play out. So obviously pray about it.
Yeah, he's done a lot of preparing and is ready to go as far as I know, but I'm worried he's gonna get there and feel sick.
Yeah, he'll probably go and wear a mask
Yeah.
and then
yes.
kind of play it by ear and see how he feels. So
You can see.
So Tommy fed him very well for the Duke football game on Saturday, and he wasn't around whoever they got exposed to. They did Frogmore stew tailgating. He and Michael Fulham and Pastor did, and none of them are Duke fans, but Mike got some tickets, and so they all went over and had a grand time.
no, that's good.
It was. I think I did a little instructing on how to go ahead and create a meal in the middle of a parking lot.
That's good. That's good.
You know,
I'm sure you got a little food
for those boys that
before you
don't-
start doing the beverages.
Mike had tickets. He was gifted some tickets, and so they hadn't done it before. And Tommy and I are kind of veterans at it, so he got to teach them how to truly tailgate.
Teach them how to fish, huh? It's good.
How to fish with shrimp and sausage and
Wow.
corn and potatoes.
oh wow.
Mm.
a low country boil. Frogmore stew is a name a lot of people don't know, but a low country boil most people know.
On a gas stove in a parking lot.
Okay.
All right, folks, if we don't have anything else, I guess we'll just let everybody get to choir practice early.
You wanna do a quick prayer?
Yeah,
for
yeah,
us?
and actually I was thinking we should probably do the Lord's Prayer. How
We
about that?
That was in
Absolutely.
the episode.
Andrew.
Yeah.
Our Father,
Father,
Lord,
art in heaven,
hallowed
hallowed
be
be
thy
thy name.
Thy
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 kingdom
kingdom
come,
come,
thy will
thy
be
will be
done
done
on
on
earth
earth.
as it is in heaven.
Give
Give
us
us
Give us
this
this
day
day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we
as
forgive
we
those
forgive
who
those
trespass against us. And lead us
Lead
not
us
into
not into
temptation,
temptation,
but deliver
but
us from
deliver us
evil.
from evil.
Thine
For
is the
thine is the
kingdom,
kingdom,
and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Tommy,
Awesome.
And we got good internet service because that was only about a 0.8 second delay.
I know,
Going
it was
back and
pretty
forth.
close.
Okay, I gotta go to that other.
I'll hang with you, Lynn.
okay, good.
Good night.
See y'all.